Hey, back on the show, all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. So it's funny, I have some friends that, I always joke around with, and I always say happy birthday, and that, their birthday is their birthday month. But for our next guest, Christine McCarron, recently, and this isn't a secret, so I'm just going to say it, turned 60 on July 23rd, and you are having a happy birthday kind of year. And we're going to talk all about why that matters and why we have you on the program. Chris McCarron, welcome to the program. Thanks so much for joining us, and happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So you are Massachusetts-based, true serial entrepreneur, and like any serial entrepreneur, not happy and not satisfied with just the status quo, always working on what's next. Is that an accurate assessment?
Is it ever?
I love to get to know the person behind the microphone. We're going to dive into some of your entrepreneurial ventures and some of the interesting things you have going on in your very interesting life, as we said a moment ago. But Chris, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you got into entrepreneurship to start?
I think I should have always been in entrepreneurship. I was a very bad employee. But I had a very small town upbringing, so I didn't know it was a thing. But once I found out it was a thing, I was like, oh yeah, this is what I have to do. So I just have created one business after another, and actually it's no longer serial. It's sort of concurrent now with a few different hats in the juggling match at the moment.
Amazing. My understanding is that your first entrepreneurial venture, your first company was actually, from what I understand, belly dancing supplies.
Yeah. It was an import company, and that ended up being the one product that everybody wanted, which I didn't even belly dance. I didn't know anything about it. It just complete accident, but it was a lot of fun.
That's wild. Okay, so Chris McCarron, we're talking to this amazing entrepreneur, recently turned 60. And Chris, for our listeners, obviously we'll send everybody over to your website. But why is this sort of time for what's next? Why is this 60-year birthday? Why is this such a big deal for you?
Well, because I was a complete loser at 50.
I don't think so.
Totally. I mean, 50 snuck up on me. I was living like a college kid with, 5 other people in this 4-bedroom house, and not in any way, shape, or form living up to my potential. And I had this like, oh my God, how did I get to be 50 already? Right. And had a real meltdown. Quick story, went to my aunt's 100th birthday party like a couple of weeks later, and I was like, oh man, there's still time for me. So I've spent the last 10 years really on the kind of treadmill, like not treadmill, but the kind of running, jogging, trying to catch up with myself or where I should have been. And now that I'm 60, I'm like, okay, yeah, now we've got 10 years of success. I can celebrate and be really excited. And that's the whole celebration around this year.
That's wild. So we're going to take our listeners behind the scenes over here. You've created a bucket list that you are very public about, and that you are aiming for as you continue to celebrate your birthday. So Chris, tell us a little bit about some of those goals. Call it personal and professional goals.
Yes, most of them are personal, actually. But I love to travel, so I want to have traveled. It doesn't have to be this year, but I want to have traveled to every country in the world. And so this year I want to go to some places I've never been before, right? You go to a place, you love it, you go back. Like, I can't do that anymore. Now I have to start going to different places. And I want to learn lots of things that I've been dabbling in, but I really want to become good at, like dancing and playing an instrument and even singing, which, to hear my gravel might not think would be really good, but I think it's going to be fun. So
hey, it doesn't mean you need to be good at it. You can have fun and sing nonetheless. That's awesome. Visiting every country in the world. I mean, as a fellow avid traveler, I can relate to that. I know you do have some professional goals, but one of them which stuck out at me is writing another book. So it sounds to me from understanding a little bit about our guest over here, Chris McCarron, who is a motivational speaker. In addition to running several companies, it sounds like you enjoy inspiring folks. I want to stick on that theme for our next few minutes on the program. Chris, what is it that you enjoy sharing with folks, and what are, I guess, some of the lessons that you've learned over your 60 years in life that you think are relevant to fellow entrepreneurs and professionals?
The people who I'm talking to right now are people who mostly women who did what I did. Like their life sort of took another turn. Maybe they raised their family, whatever. And now they're like, okay, everybody's raised, everything's done. Now, too bad it's too late for me now to have a life, right? We think that in our 50s and even 40s, I've heard people say that it's too old to do X, Y, Z. And I just want to let everyone know it is not too late, right? There's 100%, there's time for you to tap back into that love and that passion that you had as a young person, something that is going to excite you and make you jump out of bed in the morning. So yeah,
That's huge.
The big message, it's not too late.
That's huge. Chris, I wanna dive a little bit deeper into that. Over the course of your 6 years, and again, starting your belly dancing supply import business at the age of around 30, you must have had a lot of success, and maybe I'll spend a few more minutes talking about that, but also some challenges along the way. In 30 seconds or less, is there any lessons that you've learned that you would want to caution and sort of help fellow entrepreneurs that might be tuning in, so they know?
100%. I think as entrepreneurs, we have a tendency to not listen to other people. Not like I wanted to do everything myself, and I thought I could do everything myself. I had no idea all the millions of things I didn't know. So I would say get some coaching, get some training, find a mentor. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
That's valuable advice, and that's a theme that we hear from so many of our guests on Get Down to Business. Speaking of which, you could always check out the archive of all of our 10 plus years of shows all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship on my website, syklein.com. Get on your favorite podcast app. Just search for Get Down to Business, Apple, Spotify, Google. It's all there, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. We're going to continue our conversation with Chris McCarron after this quick break. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. You're listening to Get Down to Business, and I'm rejoined by inspiring motivational speaker, author, and birthday girl, Chris McCarron. As we've been talking about before the break, Chris celebrated her 60th birthday on July 23rd, and it's representing the start of the greatest year of her life. We've been talking about some of those goals, but also just before the break, talking about some of those, some of the lessons learned along the way. So, Chris, we talked about some of your business ventures, but you also have launched Beehive. There's actually, as I understand it, a couple of different ventures in that Beehive name and brand. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about it?
Sure. The biggest one is the Beehive co-working community. I purchased a commercial space and have turned it into a co-working space. And that has been a lot of fun with branding and marketing and just really taking something from the complete nothingness. And that's been great. And so when I moved my real estate business, I named it Beehive Brokerage just for branding and to make things easier for people. But that's not a new thing. Before I worked for Remax, and now I'm working for myself. But real estate has always been part of my hat.
So, Chris, over the course of your, call it 30 years in the world of entrepreneurship, you've seen ups and downs. These past few years have been a wild, wild journey. For some folks, quite amazingly productive and successful because it's allowed that focus to get ventures off the ground. They were at home, maybe chose, sort of had a little bit of a midlife crisis thanks to the pandemic and determining, hey, I really don't like being an employee, and they started their ventures. And for some, of course, many, many challenges. So, Chris, what do you see? I mean, where do you think we're going? What's the state of the world of entrepreneurship, if you will?
I think it's a fantastic time to be an entrepreneur. There are just so many more resources. It's so much easier, right? Before you were somewhat limited a lot of times for clients who were right at your doorstep, and now you've got really the whole world to work with. It just seems like it's so much easier to be an entrepreneur. And maybe it's even a little more difficult to be an employee, right? When companies are downsizing or right sizing or whatever, and it's just, there's so much opportunity to collaborate now. I feel more than there ever was.
Amazing, amazing. So as you continue to speak to companies and professionals around the world, certainly as you continue to travel with that goal, maybe not all this year, but hitting every country around the globe soon, what's that big message that you want people to have and to know?
Reconnecting with community is just so important, and I believe in-person community is at least as important, right? Part of the reason for the Beehive co-working community is that I want it to be like a community center, a place where people come and hang out and meet people. And I mean, there's all kinds of bad stuff coming out of just sitting home, even on Zoom. You need to be with people, you need to hug people and see
Yeah.
people and shake hands, and just reconnect with somebody. Go out and hug a stranger today. That's my advice.
100%. Again, I'm chatting with Chris McCarron, who recently said that the first 60 years of her life, that was just practice. Chris, one of your goals was that travel. How many countries have you been to so far?
Oh gosh, I should have counted. I guess probably about 20, maybe.
Oh, you've got a long way to go. I'm at something like 70, so you've got some work ahead of you. Chris, it's going to be it's going to be an amazing year. Congratulations again. Happy birthday again to you. Congratulations on all your success. Thanks for sharing your advice, expertise. How can we get in touch with you and learn more about you and your amazing, amazing projects?
Thanks for asking. And thanks for the good wishes on my traveling. The easiest way is just my website, chrismccarron.com. It's a little bit of work, but you can, if you explore there, you should be able to find all my different hats and iterations.
Fantastic. We'll link in the show notes, chrismccarron.com. Chris, thanks so much for joining us. Really, really enjoyed our conversation. Can't wait to follow your travels and follow your journeys before your 61st birthday. That's a wrap for us here on the show, all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. Get to my website, syklein.com. Check us out on your favorite podcast app. But again, can't wait to see you next week. To success, let's get down to business. Have a great week.